Today I'm going to use a Spry widget to create a pop-up menu in Dreamweaver. And there are actually several different kinds of Spry widgets, and I encourage you to explore the Adobe site to learn more about them. But basically a Spry widget is a page element that combines HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code to enable user interaction. And today I'm going to demonstrate how to use a Spry widget to build a pop-up menu. So I'm going to begin, as I often do, by just creating my file structure. Oops. Okay, and I'm going to call it Graphic Design 66. Okay, just throw this away. And within this folder, again, we'll have two separate folders. We'll have one that's called Final Web. We know that's where all of my HTML pages and my images folder is going to live. And then I have a separate one called Source Files. And this is where my Photoshop files, Illustrator files, text files would live. And that source file folder does not get uploaded ever to the server. It's only that final web folder. Okay, so now I will open up Dreamweaver. I'm going to open a new page, and I'm immediately going to save this out. So save this. I'm going to call it index.html and save that to my Graphic Design 66 folder into my Final Web folder. Okay, so make sure that I save it right in there. And you know, that is also, again, where our images folder would live. So I'm going to just, so that we have a full, complete folder structure here, I'm just going to create that images folder. So this is really important, you know, file structure, hopefully you guys have caught on by now. Really important to set this up right in the beginning of a project. Okay, so now I have outlined in the class notes the step-by-step of inserting a Spry widget menu into your page, but I wanted to go through these steps here. There's a couple sort of slightly unusual steps, and one is that you need to actually make sure you have your site defined using the site definition box. So I'm going to do that by opening up new site here, and notice I'm using the advanced interface, not the basics. We'll click over to advanced, and all that we're doing here is we're just letting Dreamweaver know where our site lives, because Dreamweaver needs to give us some additional files. We're going to get some JavaScript files and some CSS files, so we need to let Dreamweaver know where our final site is. So I'm just going to call it Final Web. You know, obviously if I were working on a specific project, for instance, let's say the project Argyle design for the final project, I might call this Argyle. And then the only other thing I need to do here at the local root folder is I need to point Dreamweaver to where my site lives. And it lives inside of this Final Web folder. So this is a little bit different than when you upload your files to the FTP, where you pick actually the folder above it, so you wouldn't ever pick your Final Web folder. But in this case, we just want to tell Dreamweaver where those files can live. So those CSS files and JavaScript files that Dreamweaver is going to create for us when we create this menu, they're going to get placed into this Final Web folder. Okay, so that's all you need to do there. So, and I always, just to make sure, you know, I will double check to make sure indeed when I go to manage sites that my Final Web is there, and it is indeed still there. Okay, so I just want to make sure it is there and it is selected. Okay. All right, so now we're going to be ready to insert our pop-up menu widget into our page. And I'm actually going to insert my widget into a layer, and the advantage of that is it just makes it a lot easier for me if I need to move it around. So I'm going to go up to Insert, to Layout Objects, go to AP Div, and Dreamweaver has inserted that AP Div. I'm going to call it Navigation because that's where I'm going to be placing my navigation. And I'm actually going to make it large enough, because what will happen is your Spry menu won't appear, if you're going to make it horizontal, it won't appear horizontal unless the AP div is actually wide enough. So I just made that a little bit wider to accommodate the widget. Okay, so now once I click inside of my AP div, and notice my cursor is located between my opening and closing div tag. I'm going to now go up to Insert, Layout Objects, and I'm going to select Spry Menu Bar. Okay, and Dreamweaver's asking me, do I want to create a menu bar that's horizontal or vertical? And I'm going to create a horizontal, but obviously you could choose vertical. Okay, and notice here in our Properties window that we have all the properties that we're going to work with in just a second to modify this. Now the other thing that you'll notice is that up here in my code, you'll see some funky code here, and this is where Dreamweaver is trying to insert and link some JavaScript and CSS to my file, and right now it's funky because it's going to my disk space. So what I need to do here is I need to save my file. And here when you do that, Dreamweaver is asking you, hey, should I copy all these dependent files, these CSS and JavaScript, to your folder structure? And you want to say okay, and when you do that, notice how the script has changed. So now the script doesn't have funky code. It basically is just linking this JavaScript file right here and this CSS file to your document. So now you've got a folder in your final web folder called Spry Assets. So let's look at what Dreamweaver has done. So going back to my folder structure here, and sure enough, in my final web folder, now I've got a folder called Spry Assets. This is a folder that Dreamweaver put into my folder, and Dreamweaver knew to put it into this folder because of that site definition I did. And you'll see inside of the Spry Assets folder there is a CSS file, a JavaScript file, and some other like miscellaneous GIFs that are used in this Spry menu. Okay, so that's a really important step, and again I do have it in the notes. I think it's step 4 to save your page, so make sure you do that or else you'll get some funky code up here in the head of your document. Okay, so now we can edit this, and we can simply edit our menu here. Let me just select it. Okay, you have to make sure that you have selected it and that you have your Properties Inspector open right here.